You may be asking yourself how I remained functional throughout all of this. How I didn't just collapse under the pressure and the looming prospect of losing my daughter forever. I think the truth is that over the years, I had gotten really, really good at tuning out the voice that always tormented me, that had always told me horrible shit. This was just adding to it. More to repress, more bubbling beneath the surface. Maybe if it had gone on for long enough, I would have imploded sooner or later. After I woke up, I stared at the ceiling for a while. Zora's words rang in my head. 7 o'clock tonight. I had to do what they asked of me, but I wasn't sure where the data they wanted was stored. I was running out of time. I sat up and made a decision. The sheet on the Liberators. I needed to complete it now. I had a feeling that all the puzzle pieces were there. If I found out who was in charge of the Liberators, I might finally understand what the data was all about and where to look for it. Or maybe I could force them to pay Zora's boss so he'd let Laura go. Dyson. All the signs pointed towards him and his company. I didn't feel like I had the full picture just yet, but some aspects finally made sense to me. None of the people we had encountered seemed to support what the Liberators claimed to stand for. This wasn't a Garian terror group at all. It was Drovians, Savians, hired guns, and business people, all working for one man's false flag operation. What was he trying to accomplish? Stir up enough trouble to force the solar system into a war? I had talked to Dyson the morning after Banny's death. He was still in Gara, hiding in plain sight, and I still had his number. I considered my options. We needed to arrest him. But maybe we could have a chat first. Just the two of us. Once the CDI had him, he wouldn't be able to talk freely. I took out my cell and tapped his face in my contacts. My heart was pounding. Would Dyson really come, or did I spook him? Did he suspect I was onto him? It would be a while until I found out, so I sat down and took a deep breath. At least I had a little time to think about what to say to him if he showed up. I was supposed to write a report on my findings in the Liberator's case, but I wasn't able to concentrate for even a second. First, I needed to wait for my colleagues to go home to be alone with Saito. He always worked late. But then what? What if he refused to help me? The idea of having to force him was devastating. He was my friend, after all. When I finally managed not to think about it anymore, a much more dire thought crept up on me. Laura might die tonight. And if she did, it would be my fault. inserted the stick into my cell and opened up the folder. My heart was pounding. For a moment, it looked like the data wouldn't load, but then the files started appearing on the screen. Dozens, maybe hundreds of documents, messages, pictures, and videos. They were decades old, most of them dated 1799 or 1800. Their confidentiality level was one I'd never seen before. This was the type of data the Garian network would instantly pick up and trace, both to its receiver and back to its sender. It made sense to physically hand-deliver it if one wished to remain anonymous. I didn't know where to begin, so I opened up the very first file in the list, the oldest one, with shaking hands. It was a document sent from someone at the Department of Commerce to the director of the CDI at the time, Amelia Thorne, now Attorney General in charge of the Justice Department. My eyes widened as I skimmed over the paragraphs. When I was done reading the letter, I checked the time. 20 more minutes. I sat down and opened up the second one, then the third. As the conversation went on, a plan was hatched between a handful of politicians, special interest groups from the private sector, and high-ranking members of the CDI. I didn't recognize most of the names. Some might have been pseudonyms. I stopped looking at the files halfway through and let my head sink onto the backrest. Even though they had used very careful language at first, the goal and purpose of the operation were abundantly clear. The failure of Sector 2 hadn't been an accident. Garians had plotted and engineered it to gain sole access to Drovia's resources, and given its strategic importance at the time, ultimately retained supremacy over the solar system. My head was spinning while I tried to figure out what all of it meant for the present, and for me. I had long doubted the integrity of the CDI. Was it still rotten to the core, or had things changed? I didn't know about any ongoing operations that were breaching interplanetary law, but then most agents at the time of the Sector 2 incident hadn't known either, and some of the things I did know about, I didn't want to think about them too much. Now what? On the one hand, the public had a right to know. The culprits had to be found and brought to justice. Reparations had to be paid to the affected families and businesses. On the other hand, if the truth came out, the liberators would win. Savient extremists might be emboldened enough to take control of the colony and declare independence. If that happened, Gara would send its ships, and New Joran might send theirs to back up their Savient brethren, and to finally gain access to the planet's Telenium, of course, if their side won. Hundreds might die, thousands even. Time was running out. I tapped the contact of a journalist I had met a while back. I still hadn't made a decision when I heard the dial tone. The data would probably go through if I decided to send it, but there was no way in hell it wouldn't be traced back to me. My heart was pounding so loudly in my ears that I almost didn't hear the voice on the other end. And that's it. The most tumultuous days of my life, and possibly in Garian history. Abbott Dyson has been charged with interplanetary terrorism, first-degree murder, and more that would put a normal person away for multiple lifetimes. Unfortunately, he is one of the world's most influential billionaires, and as it stands now, he isn't going to prison for more than a few years. It is rumored that he's putting someone else in charge of his company for the time being, and will be allowed back at his post after serving his sentence. With their mastermind unmasked, at least it's safe to say that the Liberators won't ever make another appearance. Even though Dyson and Cox each lost a lot in the Sector 2 incident, I don't believe their actions were really driven by a righteous thirst for revenge. Almost all the people who have suffered and might still suffer from their actions had nothing to do with Gara's past crimes. Ultimately, Dyson had tried to start an interplanetary war in hopes of increasing his profit margins, and he might still succeed in it. The data I leaked sent a shockwave through the solar system. The source of the leak was quickly discovered, and the CDI not only fired me on the spot, but also tried to scrub me from their records and made all sorts of claims to discredit me. The Garian state scrambled to spin the narrative on the Sector 2 incident, but the data was authentic and unambiguous. 40 years ago, the Savient colony on Drovia had been sabotaged in a secret operation initiated by a handful of Gyara's top politicians, economic elites, and the CDI under the leadership of Amelia Thorne, now Attorney General and leader of the Garian Department of Justice. It became clear to me why she had tried to hide the data, fired the chief when he got too close, and ordered the arrest of Cox when she realized who he was. She is currently awaiting trial, along with a number of mostly retired politicians who were implicated in the conspiracy. Lara is free again and seems to be doing okay, but I wonder every day about the scars this experience has left behind. Even though I know I'm not directly to blame, I will never forgive myself for inadvertently dragging her into all this. As for me, I am free again, as free as I was before, but my life is forever changed. Catherine and I are dating again, however crazy that sounds. Things are so different now. The world is so different that maybe something good can come of it again. And finally, Zora. Easily the strangest person I've met in my life. Despite the terrible things she did, I'm grateful for her help when it really counted. I don't know if there is a path of redemption for her, but vouching for me might have been her first step towards it.
Late in the evening, the lights are still there, ever unchanging, they shine unaware. The sea is above me, the sea is beneath. The waves that have parted will once again meet. So we stand here, in the end we're out of love. Want to try again, but the stars don't give a fuck. Will it have mattered? Is there a cause? Will it return, or will it be lost? So we stand here, in the end we're out of love. Want to try again, but the stars don't give a fuck. As we stand here, in the end we lose it all. To the stars above and below, we must look so small.